The concrete slab we were on was probably, it had to have been maybe 50 feet wide and 100 feet long maybe.
Yeah.
And so we started looking around kind of in the direction that thing looked like it ricocheted. Yep. Sure enough, we found it over there.
Really?
We found the round. There's a guy in Bismarck that's got it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird. And it sounded just like somebody took like a bigger wrench, like a 1-inch wrench or 1.125 wrench, and dropped it on the concrete. That's exactly what it sounded like. It was just ding. It was like, there ain't nobody out here but us two. So we knew it wasn't a wrench. It's like, holy crap.
So, yeah, where did it come from?
So I suppose somebody was in a firefight somewhere out there and just a stray bullet. When we got there to where we were located, we were supposed to have bunkers and all this shit around us. There was nothing. I mean, we were kind of out in the middle of the open. And, while we had the wall from Saddam's palace and all that around us, and we had the big wall there, but that was it. But like around all the areas that you worked in and shit, they were supposed to have these 12-foot concrete wall barriers that just stood up, and they stacked them together. Well, we didn't even have that. We didn't have a bunker. We didn't have shit. And we started complaining right away when we first got there about that stuff. And just maybe about a month and a half before we left, they finally started bringing them barricades in and brought the bunker in and shit like that. But by then, we were so used to running and just kind of hiding where you could. And nobody did ever run to the damn thing after it was even there.
What was the bunker actually?
It was just a concrete, just like a concrete culvert, but it was like maybe this thick.
Did they bury it then, or?
No, they just set it right on top of the ground, and then they had those big tall concrete barriers surrounding it, and it was just like maybe a 3-foot opening that you had to run through to get to it. What was that palace called? Victory over America Palace?
Mm-hmm. What was that?
That was one of Saddam's. See, in '91, Saddam thought he won, so he built this great big palace, and it was a gorgeous palace. It really was, and that was right on the kind of the south side of the airport, and that was right beside our little complex, and that's the one. That was the first thing we blew up when we went into Iraq. Was that palace. And yeah, that thing still there, just exactly the way he had it left. It was not finished. It wasn't complete. But yeah, it was. You can see where the bombs hit it and just disintegrated the one end of it. But that son of a bitch was huge.
Yeah.
Because when we got kicked out, when we were supposed to leave over there if we would have left on time, we wouldn't have got to stay there. But we got delayed back. That we got kicked out of our house because the new unit was already in, and we couldn't leave, so they stuck a bunch of us in that palace. And there was there's 10, 12 floors that you could stay in. The south half of the whole palace was totally destroyed, so they had a lot of it blocked off. You couldn't, you weren't supposed to go over there. We did anyway, and yeah, it was kind of comical. I had to come over here one night with the wrecker, and this road was probably as wide as a regular road, and there was a cement ledge that was up about this high, and some idiot somehow got a Humvee stuck up over the top of that thing. So I had to back up from here. I could turn around right there. I had to back all the way up this hill, all the way over to here, because there was no way I could get up and around him to get turned around. So I had to back all the way up the hill, and then we got hooked onto them and pulled them off of it.
With a record?
Yeah,
They have like regular.
Hammett wrecker. Yeah, it was a regular big semi wrecker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great big ass hill. That's where one of our companies stayed. One of the Minnesota companies.
Mhm.
They stayed over on this camp here. This here, right there, that's probably it was our work area.
Huh.
Because we didn't have a building, we had 2 tents set up. Is all we had.
Huh. This is like an artificial pond or something.
Yeah, all this shit was. It was all man-made lakes. That's water.
Really?
Yep. This little thing here is water. This is water. This was all water around the palace. Yeah. See this whole south side here
Oh.
was all demolished. This hill here, that's where they had all the communication towers and shit like that.
Alright.
And that's where they had that Patriot missile launcher
Oh yeah.
off of that. So we'd sit down here and watch it come off of that hill. I don't remember what that palace there is called, but that's the one that the general stayed in.
Oh.
And that's where they were trying to lob shit in all the time. And down here on this corner, a lot of that shit was landing. Most of that shit that they were sending in was landing in this area. And they were trying to hit that, but they could never hit it. The next day, it was like blood red, just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But it really looked cool. But it was just weird because when he carved it out, it was just like regular tree bark.
Yeah.
But the next day, it just turned blood red. It was like, what kind of a damn tree is this?
Yeah.
When we went over, we were HHC, the company headquarters, and then we had one company out of Minnesota, 2 companies out of Minnesota. We had 2 companies out of Iowa, and 1 company out of California with us that were under our control. And all them units, that's pretty much what they did, was just go out and look for IEDs and just kind of patrol the streets.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was outside the gate one time, and it took me long, and it frustrated us more because of the QRF, which was they were, if you called them, they were supposed to be right there. And fuck, I went up. Well, when we got the call to go tip those barriers over on that one ECP, it was like, you got to get going, go. So I grabbed my vest and I grabbed all my shit that I needed, and took off and went up there, and I sat there for about a freaking hour and a half waiting for QRF to show up, so that we could go out and tip these damn gate barriers over. Is what it was on the wall that surrounded our camp. It came out like this, and then it came in way in. It was probably about a block long, and then it went back this way. But out here, we had a tower right here on this corner to watch this area out here. Well, these idiots, they had when it came off this wall and come this way, they had put those concrete barriers, and they were probably like 3 foot high or 4 foot high, and they had, I think it was 3 of them that stretched straight out from this wall. Well, little bastards, they'd sneak up behind the wall, and they'd crawl out to the end out there, and they'd look around the corner, and they'd shoot at the tower. And you couldn't see them to shoot them, all you were shooting at was a concrete wall. So we went out and QRF cordoned off the area there, and then I went out with the wrecker, and I turned all them son of bitches sideways and flipped them over. so they couldn't hide behind them. And then after we did that, the shit quit. They quit shooting at the tower because they didn't have no place to hide because the tower could see right down the end of the wall. So if they stuck their head out, they'd get shot right in the head. So they had, that was a good place for them to hide. But there's a few times they cracked at them, but shit, all they're doing is shooting at the concrete. Scare the hell out of them, and they'd leave for a while. A few hours later, and then all this shit happened at night. They wouldn't do nothing during the day, very, very seldom. But they tried doing this shit at night, and it's just, with night vision on, you can see over there, you could see it and everything, but just couldn't see them. Otherwise, they'd have peppered them.
What's QRF?
It was supposed to be Quick Response Force, which, you could tell how quick they were, And them boys were the California boys. They were, I think they were on drugs, them guys. They were freaking loopy anyway. But Sergeant Majors, boy, towards the end they were pretty responsive. I mean, when they called for QRF, they were right there. Because we got after them, and you had to. Fuck, you couldn't be pissing around that way, Shit, if somebody was out there and actually needed help or whatever, fuck, you can't piss around. You gotta get there. Weird bunch of boys. Then we had our flags up there. I think we ended up taking them down because we had them backwards or some damn thing. This damn blimp. We had this blimp about a block away from our shop. And is what it was. It was just a big blimp that was tied onto a 1/2-inch cable. And that son of a bitch, he'd go up there a long ways. But he had cameras on him. That's all he did was sit up there in the air. If it was windy and shit, they'd pull him down. Just a blimp with an electronic camera on it. They could look around and zoom in wherever they wanted to. It was pretty interesting. But we lost the damn thing. I think they lost 2 or 3 of them.
I mean, they blew away? Or?
Yeah, the freaking cable snapped. And yeah, see, this is these sandstorms that were blowing in every day.
Yeah.
They would just turn orange. You couldn't see very, very damn far.
Yeah.
It would just come in and you couldn't see shit. Like this here was one of the big tents we stayed in.
Yeah.
And fuck, these tents are huge. But you'd be crammed in there, you'd probably have 3 feet between your cots. And you'd have all your shit piled on the end of the cot and either underneath it or at the end. Because you had so much shit that it just... You didn't have much room. There's our little Wile E. Coyote. This little guy here, it's like a little fox. I don't know what they call him over there, a dingo or whatever. He was actually cute. He's just about the same size as our fox and everything. For some reason, nobody ever shot him or anything, but he ended up in our motor pool. And he just kind of hung out there. But he always slept we had a 5-ton dump truck out there. And, of course, he never rolled the windows down. But somehow he'd get up inside there, and he'd always be on the seat of the truck.
You ever roll the windows down?
Or no, we never had him rolled up.
Oh, okay.
So somehow he'd get up, but he'd always sleep in the truck in the front of that truck. So when you went out there if you wanted to use that truck, you had to start making noise and shit, whatever. So you'd get out of there. Yeah, the first time I caught him out there, it was like, holy crap. But yeah, he went out the other window and he just kind of hung around there, but he stuck around there for the longest time. Here's one of them towers. And the dumbasses, they built the stairs. The stairs went all the way around it, all the way to the top. Well, then they didn't cover them or nothing. It was wide open, just a railing around it. Mm-hmm. So we took and we found this. It's kind of like burlap, but it's shit that was made over in that country, and we covered them like this, so that they,
At least couldn't see him
walking up, and pick them off.
Yeah.
So we did that. Well, then after we got into the towers, and there was probably a week or two into it, and the first few times we shot at the towers, well, fuck, there was really nothing up there for the to protect the tower either.
Really?
They had a little piece of metal around the outside of it, like around this here.
Yeah.
Was a piece of metal, probably eighth of an inch thick.
It wasn't.
No, it was nothing. And then they had sandbags on the inside of it. That's it. So we got a hold of this.
That'd be like just a big target.
Yeah. we got a hold of this 1/2 inch steel plate, and it was hardened for bullets and shit, but it wasn't real hard. But we had a hell of a time cutting it with the torch.
Yeah.
And I finally figured out that you get the torch hot enough and everything, we could cut it.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting, I don't know, we must have had, I bet you I cut 100 sheets, 4x8 sheets of that shit.
Yeah.
And we cut it for the size of the tower, each tower, and I'd cut them. We'd cut them in. I think they were like 30 inches high, and then the 8-foot sheets. Well, we sent the first ones out there, and the poor guys they did carry the fuckers up there, but they had to stop the whole time. So then they came back and we cut them down to 4-foot sheets, 30 inches by 4 foot or whatever, 32, whatever it was, and by 4 foot. Well, they got tired of carrying them too. So then we started cutting them down. We cut them down like they were like 30 by 30.
Yeah.
And then they weren't too bad. So that's what we cut all those sheets into, and they'd carry them up there and stack them up. And then I never got involved in that part, but we had a team running around that had a welder with leads that they'd drag up. They just, they'd run around here, and then they'd somehow they'd get them up there. But they'd drag their leads up to the top up there, and then once they had all the steel up there, they'd drag the leads up there, and then they'd weld it together, so they didn't have to try to prop them up and shit like that. But that was a pain in the ass.
So you covered the whole thing, the staircase, like all the way around.
Well, we didn't cover it with metal. We just covered it with that burlap. Yeah.
Put them in all.
But yep.
Yeah, it seems like
it didn't make sense,
It doesn't, yeah.
what they did. The tower was nice, and they were tall, but
It's not.
it wasn't very.
Defensive.
Yeah,
What's the thing in the middle?
that was. That's basically it was a big steel pipe, or it wasn't a pipe. It was a square tube, like basically that it held up on, and then they put these four columns up.
So it's just support.
The
middle thing.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like could have used that for transit or something.
You'd think so. You'd think they would have put like a
dumbwaiter.
Yeah, dumbwaiter, or even a damn pulley on top and a rope that could
something.
pull shit up.
Yeah.
But it was just a square tube. And that was another thing, that say if the guys were up there, the least they could have did was made it, 30 by 30 or whatever. Yeah, it would have been a hell of a drop, but
yeah, but at least you could
if you'd seen a rocket coming in, hell drop down that damn thing, it would have been would have hurt, but you'd have been alive.
Right, yeah. Well, just putting a rope there, you'd be able to get down it.
Yeah, slide down a rope or something.
Yeah, it's
yeah, whoever designed them, they sure weren't thinking.
Yeah.
But they were. I know it was many steps up there. I went up in one of them once, and I wasn't up there very long because we didn't have much time. But we did go up and look around, and you could see a long ways out of them bastards. And then with the binoculars and shit like that, yeah.
But they didn't even arm them. They didn't even put heavy guns up there or anything.
We had our biggest guns we had up there was Well, I guess we did a couple of our towers. You know, like we had a line of towers of like 4, and then we'd put. I believe we had 50s in the 2 end ones, and then like in the center ones we had the smaller powered, the 7.62s, the saws and shit like that we had in there, so they could basically fight out in front of them. But the 50s, the 50 cals, they could pretty much reach whatever they wanted to out there. And yeah, they every once in a while they get into a firefight with them idiots. You know, they'd just random be out there and they'd shoot at the towers and they'd shoot back a few times, shoot around a few rounds back at them. Fuck, they'd all disperse. You'd say to them guys, you'd talk to them guys that were up in them towers. Shit, you rattle off, you'd get 2-3 shells off, and fuck, they'd be gone. They'd disperse and they wouldn't come back for a long time. But I don't know, you know, I never did hear if anybody actually shot anybody or anything. I know they were out on a recon, or they're not a recon, but they were out doing a mission or patrolling one time, and they got into a firefight. And usually the front and back, our lead vehicle and the rear vehicle had 50s on them. And they did get into a firefight one time where that one guy, he said they shot a guy with a 50 that was running around there and had a rifle and shit. And I guess it was pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
He says, fuck, he said he'll never forget it. But yeah, when they hit him right in here. Or no, it was right up in the stomach. Because basically it blew him in half, and his legs were still running. Just, it didn't even sound good.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, and then you gotta live with that?
Yeah.
I know, I've dreamt of it a few times. It's like, holy crap. And that was like right afterwards. I really haven't thought much of it after that. Yeah, like over there when we need certain parts or whatever, and we couldn't get them through the system fast enough or whatever. We'd go to we had a can yard over there too, Can Point, which you basically like this destroyed vehicles. If there was any parts left on them that were any good, you could go get them and take them off and use them. And holy crap, some of the shit they seen over there. There's, you know, like in our up armored Humvees, the windows are like that thick, solid glass. And I seen one Humvee that, what the hell were they shooting over there? I can't remember what the hell they were shooting over there. But it hit the window, and it penetrated through, but there was only like a hole, just, you know, about that size on the inside. The outside was probably about that big around. But it, you know, in that 2 1/4 or whatever it is, 2.5 inches thick, it penetrated that sucker, but the tip of it just come through. But I don't know if it did blow up, it didn't shatter that window or didn't do anything. So the guys inside didn't get hurt, but it got blown up from something else. But yeah, there was a lot of weird shit that I seen. A lot of different vehicles and the way they blew up and crap. We've seen vehicles that had everything blowing, you know, everything blowing out from underneath it, you know, like the tires and freaking engine. Engine would be laying here and the transmission's over there and the fucking tires are, hell, some of them you didn't even see or find. They're that far gone, you know.
Yeah.
And people never got hurt in them. Got shook up and rattled and
in the Humvees?
Bruised up. No, they were...
those ones that are designed for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Buffaloes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be cut up and shit, from bouncing around in there and stuff. But as far as I know, nobody's ever gotten killed in one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big improvement.
Yeah.
It was from South Africa, It was the South Africans who designed those.
Yeah, they designed them and then we built them.
Yeah. Because they'd had so many.
But that was
so many
smart.
mines down there. Yeah.
But we had those Humvees, those up armored Humvees. Holy crap, over there. Well, they could beat the piss out of them too.
Huh. When they put that extra armor on or up armor on, the weight, does that get?
Oh yeah, we had to put bigger springs in there and heavier duty shocks and the A arms that go down and hold the wheels. We had to change them and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was basically you rebuild the whole underneath to support that weight because they're heavy.
How'd the transmissions do
then? They did good. I think we changed 4 out of our fleet of probably 60 in that year's time or 8 months time we were over there. So it wasn't bad at all. I think we changed 3 engines and 4 transmissions. Yeah, they actually held up a lot better than I thought they were gonna. Because I figured, over in that heat and shit, nothing was gonna stand up.
Yeah.
But they seemed to do pretty good. Like around here, shit, I don't think we could ever hurt them around here. But over there, they're pissing around. They're flying 60 miles an hour down these freaking roads that got holes in them, and and they're hitting them and shit. Yeah, they just totally destroyed the shit. But what are you gonna do? Oh, this thing here. This was cool. This was a civilian Peterbilt that they up armored.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta remember that. I gotta show my brother-in-law that.
Is it the whole engine compartment? Or?
Yeah. You can see the steel plating they put over the engine, the whole cab, the sleeper.
Yeah, it looks like an armored truck.
Because they did that to a lot of the civilian trucks over there. They'd up armor them and they put the stronger bumpers and shit on so we could hook onto them with our wreckers. And convoys, semi-convoys, holy crap. Them son of a bitches would line up on the one end of the airport over there to get ready to go out the gate. There's a freaking parking lot. I bet you it was 10 acres, just about as big as our place here. And, oh hell, it was bigger than that because they had semis parked in there. And they had enough room to get in and out, and there was probably 10 rows of semis. So there's probably maybe 20 acres. And shit, when they got ready to do a convoy, all them freaking things would start lining up, and it was like, they must have had probably 100 semis or better in a convoy. And they had civilians and military ones in there, and shit, they'd get ready to go out the gate. And when they opened the gate, it was just like hell bent for election as fast as they could go.
Yeah.
Just crazy. And then they had troubles over there for a while of tankers. Them fuckers would somehow, get the convoy stopped, or, they'd blow up a truck in the middle somewhere and get 3-4 tankers stopped. They wouldn't even kill the drivers or whatever, but they'd make them stop, or, blow something up so that they had to stop, and then they'd steal the tankers.
Steal?
Yeah.
How?
The guys would, like I say, they wouldn't kill anybody. They wouldn't kill the drivers or anything, but they would make them get out of their trucks and they'd take off with the tankers. And
really?
Then, I don't know what the hell they were doing with all the fuel, but Yeah, you'd hear about that every time. Almost every convoy had something going wrong with it.
Wow.
They'd either steal tankers or they'd steal the connexes with the shit in them, and
The connexes?
yeah, the steel container with the doors on them, and, you know, just basically a box
Well,
that
probably,
they'd fill up.
I suppose they could be selling.
Oh yeah, I
fuel
would
and
imagine
stuff.
they were selling it,
probably
and
just
shit,
making money.
making money that way, and
Yeah.
you know, and that's probably how they were buying their weapons and shit. You know,
Yeah.
who knows what they were doing with it, but
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on what they got a hold of. They didn't know what they were getting either. You know,
Yeah.
if they were getting JPA diesel or gas.
Yeah.
So I suppose they'd, you know, if it was gas, they'd probably save it for themselves, and if it was anything else, they'd sell it on the open market or whatever. Or
Yeah.
who knows what they did with it? But yeah, they were constantly messing with the convoys.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm glad I never had to got into over there. Because yeah, they had convoys every day. There was convoys coming and going, you know, and they'd go from Baghdad down to Kuwait, and shoot, they just take off and go. That's all they do is drive. Once they got about halfway, then it wasn't so bad because it was pretty much wide open out there.
Mm-hmm.
But to get to that point, it was like in between there. It was like, fuck, that's where they get nailed. And I wouldn't have wanted to do it. I know that. You know, like I wouldn't have minded being over there. You know, one of the first units in there either. You know, when they first started heading north up to Baghdad, because shit, they had it rough, but they had it made, basically, because they didn't really have no place to stay or anything. They would just pull over and make a defense, and that's where they stayed for the night or whatever. And yeah, they just kept moving north. But you know, when they seen us coming,
right? Yeah,
they were gone.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't do much really fighting and confronting when they went in there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that bad. It was after the fact, and you know, once we kind of started getting a route down, that's when shit started going bad, because this convoy will go that way at this time, and you know, they could freaking start planting IEDs and shit and wait for them to come, and so you had to be on the ball all the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Talked to some of them guys, and it was like, fuck, you'd be driving along, and then it got to the point too where shit, then you could only drive 10, 15 miles an hour because you had to watch for IEDs and shit like that, you know. So it'd take a long time to get that convoy from one point to the other. It was like, not for me. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, you probably got two drivers, but Christ, if it's going to take you 3 days to get there,
Yeah.
I like to drive truck, but I wanna jump in and drive, not be fucking around trying to worry if I'm gonna be still alive when I get there. When we got up in there over to Kuwait, we had to go out to this firing range and shoot, and the goddamn, we had lines. It was like this. It was like this for probably 2 city blocks long, of people just laying there shooting at targets and shit. And then, of course, in the background, and we could reach them with our weapons, fucking camels would be walking across there. So as soon as a camel would come along, you had to stop firing. He was like, crap, you gotta be shitting me. There was camels everywhere. But yeah, that one guy, he had camels back there. I don't know if they would go across the desert to a spot where there was water or what the hell, but yeah, every once in a while they'd truck back and forth across there. When we left Iraq, coming back, we came back on a KC-135 tanker. So it had the bubble, you know, the bubble in the bottom that the guys would use to put
refuel. Yeah.
refuel.
Yeah.
And shit, it was such a long flight anyway. So, and the pilots were the people on board running the plane. Hey, can I get down in there? I said, yeah, you might want to get a coat though. Hell, it can't be that bad. Whew. We were down in there, and I was down in there for probably 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But holy crap, that was freezing in there, in that bubble. And weird, food. You're laying in there backwards. You know, you would think you'd be the opposite way around. You'd think you'd be flying or laying in there the same way the plane is flying.
Like your head towards the front.
Yeah, but you're not.
Because you're facing backwards to see the plane coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you're just laying in there flying backwards. It's like, whoa, this is weird. But yeah, it's just colder than hell in that little hole.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm sure. Well, how high were you? You must have been 30,000 feet or something.
Yeah, I would imagine. But we had that plane, shit, we had that son of a bitch loaded to the max. We were probably, oh shit, we were maybe that far. We were packed that high in the center of the plane to the top of the roof.
Really?
And we had bags, you know, our duffel bags and shit all in there in the middle. You could walk around the outside of the plane and stuff, but everything in the center was filled. And that was pretty much the only place you had to go to sleep.
On the stuff?
Yeah. You'd crawl up on top up there and lay down, you know, make something comfortable and
really
kick bags around or whatever and kind of get someplace comfortable to lay down and fall asleep. Shit, I don't know how long we were in the air. It was a long time.
And from Kuwait to where?
From Kuwait, when we left Kuwait over there, we stopped in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped in Ireland to refuel. And then from Ireland, we figured, okay, well, we're going to stop in Bangor, Maine again. We didn't. We flew straight from Ireland to Gulfport, Mississippi. Holy crap, that was a long-ass flight.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only place we had to sleep was either try to sleep sitting up in that damn chair, which they didn't have the comfortable airplane chairs in.
Yeah.
You know, they had a few of them, but there wasn't enough for everybody, so we ended up sitting along the sides in the cargo nets and shit, and they were uncomfortable to sit in anyway. But half the people were up walking around or, you know, just moving around. But yeah, I crawled up on top there that one time and tried to get some sleep. But it was freaking cold up there too.
Yeah.
Because they had down on the bottom of, you know, well, I don't even know how tall that plane was. It had to have been probably 15, 16 feet high. And down where you were sitting, it was kind of warm. You know, I don't know how the hell they did it, but it was like warm down there, but you'd crawl up on top, and it was chilly enough to where you needed, you know, take your coat along with you and cover up.
Uh-huh.
So you just crawl up there and move bags around and kind of shuffle them around so they wouldn't fall off but yet get someplace comfortable to lay down. Yeah, that's one thing. With the military, there's nothing really that comfortable.
Yeah.
Like on those KC-130s, crap, they pack you in there like freaking sardines. And then you got all your gear on and shit. Like when we flew from Kuwait up into Iraq, crazy, we had our vests on and everything. It was just freaking dying, you know.